Welcome to the Fan Podcast, the series where we dive deep into the journeys and processes of the artists and creatives shaping our cultural landscape today. Today, I'm excited to welcome New York City-based DJ duo oba+flip, who provides hard-driving, eclectic sounds with space and groove. Unafraid to mix genres within the electronic sphere, their sound is refreshing, with every set being wide-ranging while matching and elevating the energy of the room. Unafraid to mix genres within the electronic sphere. Their sound is, we'll fast forward this part. As resident DJs for New York City's Zero and Armin Mirren's Reborn project, they have played in venues such as House of Yes, Knockdown Center, CLOs, and two of Berlin's finest clubs, Katerblau and Sisyphus. Welcome, oba+flip, also Idris and Stella. How you guys doing today?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so great to have you guys on the show.
Thank you, Joni.
I'm sure everyone asks you this, but how did you guys meet?
So we actually met dancing.
Yes, we did.
At a techno party.
Yeah.
I was out with a bunch of girlfriends and I spotted Idris from across the room. Thought he looked like he was having a great time. He was dancing by himself. And I kind of made eyes at him for a while, and then I made my move and went and danced with him.
She did make her move. I gladly accepted.
Oh, that's amazing.
Shout out to Brooklyn Bazaar. That was an old venue, kind of a DIY venue that was quite burner in the scene.
Yeah, shut down before the pandemic, but was where we met.
Wow, that's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool that you guys aren't just a DJ duo, you guys are also a life duo and partners along so many dimensions. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but what is it like to be in a partnership with someone both romantically and also professionally?
So we started our romantic journey first, but a big kind of foundational stage of that, I guess, was going to a lot of parties, going and listening to music. I wasn't really into the electronic scene at the time that I met Idris. So he really introduced me to a lot of music, and then we started exploring that together. And it easily was one of our favorite things to do, I think, within our first year of dating. And then during the pandemic, we started learning how to DJ. We learned at the same time. We learned together, which I think is really special. I think, a lot of duos, people start by themselves separately and then kind of come together. For us, our journey has always been really intertwined, and we've learned to play together. I think for me, the hardest, the most difficult thing about being partners in multiple spaces and dimensions is I know I'm more sensitive to criticism coming from Idris than I am somebody else, obviously, because he's the most important person to me. So if he's giving me some constructive feedback, I know I can be a little defensive sometimes. And then I think another hard element is making sure to make space for our romantic relationship and not only work on our business or our art.
Mm-hmm. I take full credit for that. Yeah, I think because for me, I don't really have any complaints. I love it. It's a dream come true for me.
Sounds like an amazing dream.
Yeah, it is.
The person you spend the most time with makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think that is a very valid point of knowing when to turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm I'll be laying in bed and I'm like, hey,
should we do a party in 5 months with this video?
Hey, babe, what if the track went?
This is the vibe we should plan. And stuff. But it's been good though, because over time I've slowly have learned how to channel a certain type of balance. Mm-hmm. And when Stella's I don't want to talk about this stuff, I quickly be all right, I'm good.
That's so funny.
But I mean, we're super lucky. I know that we have a situation that not a lot of people are blessed to experience. So
yeah, and it just so happens we're very invested in just working with each other creatively in many facets, and I haven't gotten tired of that at all.
Oh no, me neither. Definitely not. Always learning new things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's such a rare gift to be able to work with someone who is someone you also just happen to be living with in a romantic way, right? What's really beautiful about your story is that you guys met at a techno party on the dance floor. And now you guys move from the dance floor to behind the decks together. What's it like being a participant in a party to not just the DJ, but sometimes the organizer of a party as well?
It's a great question. Do you want to tell?
Yeah, I think. Well, one, it's an interesting dynamic to be part of because like, especially if you're DJing at the same party, you're also producing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a level of attention you have to so many facets happening at the same time that can at times be overwhelming. But like for me, once I see the saturation point of the party, it usually kind of washes away.
Yeah, it's like that first hour where you're like, ugh, but then it gets better.
And I think there's a level of organization you have to have prior. You really have to kind of look into many of the details of making sure you're in contact with all the prior artists, maybe doing an artist dinner, planning your set. And for me, I think over time, it's gotten to a point where we've kind of have like a system in place now where it's not too overwhelming and it's quite easy to produce.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. Practice makes perfect for sure. But just in terms of kind of moving from just an audience member to, then being behind the decks and then beginning to produce parties, I think it's fascinating to dig like even deeper into the electronic scene and that world. I think one of the things that I liked so much about the scene other than the music when I first got into it was maybe not at like a massive party at like Brooklyn Barrage or something, but like a lot of the smaller venues like Brooklyn Bazaar or House of Yes or 57 Party, you really feel the like intentional impact of community in those events, in those spaces. And I always loved experiencing that as an audience member. And that's, something that I think about all the time, both as a DJ and then especially as we're planning parties, like how to continue like fostering that sense of openness and community. And I think that's just something that I've appreciated even more as we've moved through.
Adding on to that too, I really enjoy, because like as a DJ, you're like, you have your sound that you're very interested in, the artists that you love to play. But then when you start like going into the realm of production now, you get the opportunity to kind of like bring your favorite artists in to play for your event.
Yeah.
And you also kind of get the opportunity to kind of like create a soundscape for the type of party you want to have people listen to. And it's kind of like, in many ways, based off your musical tastes and people you've connected with over the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Think of it almost as different layers of abstraction, right? There's you as the artist making the music that's your sound, then you as the DJ curating the sound, and now you as the producer of an event curating the experience that is inclusive of the sound and also inclusive of your music as well.
Absolutely.
I know we've been jumping a lot to what you guys are working on now, but I'd love to take a few steps back and just sort of start at the beginning of the journey. So you guys met on the dance floor, became romantically involved. At what point were you both like, let's try collaborating, musically, artistically together? I know that can be sometimes a tough bridge to cross with someone you're in a relationship with. I'm so curious how that manifested for you guys. At what point did you guys decide, like not only is it fun for us to date, but let's play with art together as well?
Well, I think it kind of started from our friends, honestly. We had, we'd always be one of us would be like the person who put the playlist on at like the afters at somebody's house. And eventually our friends just kept being like, you guys should DJ. And Idris even bought us some equipment that then just like sat in our apartment for like a good 5 months. And, the pandemic, terrible time in many ways, but I think it also gave us the space to approach that from a position that had like less pressure. It was more just like, we miss music, we want something fun to do, together. And so just kind of starting in that environment where you're just at home and just kind of figuring something out and like creating, because there was a lot of time and space to do it. I think that maybe made the decision like less intense, and then it just kind of like blossomed from there, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty organic from playing at fun house parties regularly.
Yeah.
And then also having like close friends who were in the music scene that gave us our first opportunity. And it's kind of like, all right, yeah, let's jump at this opportunity and try this out. And I kind of think it was that too that kind of led us to like really deciding, hey, let's try to do this full time. Because like, you get a little taste of what it's like to perform in front of an audience, share your music, and then you're like, you get the receptive energy of it. And that definitely gave me the motivation to kind of like be like, all right, this is something I really want to do, but like definitely not by myself. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And it's so interesting to hear that it came from this place of just play, wanting to, on some level, fulfill the boredom
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
being stuck and locked down at home.
Yeah,
And
for
just
sure.
filling that musical void. I love that. So you guys were just playing with music on your own, and at what was like the turning point where you're like, okay, we're going from playing at home to playing in a club? And do you guys remember sort of like your first like big performance?
Yes, very much so. Big shout out to Armin Mirren. He gave us our first big opportunity. It was actually for a Zero event at the Knockdown Center.
Amazing.
And he has a project that's called Reborn project. So it was kind of like a collab between him and Zero. And he gave us the opportunity to open his Flores room.
That's awesome.
It was so much fun. And I do like it really opened so many doors for us. That first party, it introduced us to Zero. And yeah, our first time of really getting the taste of what it felt like to play for like actually a crowded room that wasn't just our friends, I was super nervous, but
Yeah, it was a proper party with
Yeah.
a proper dance floor,
yeah,
musicians that we like
respected were playing there too. Yeah.
and so forth. So I think that was like definitely the first opportunity that kind of
Yeah, the stakes change so much, and there's just a totally different, feeling when you're playing not just for your friends, but for people that you've never met before. What were some of the key things that you guys learned moving from an audience that was a warm audience to a less warm audience, if you will?
That's a good question. Well, one thing that I think I would really recommend for any aspiring DJ, especially if you haven't played a lot in front of, like a club crowd, is one thing that we always used to do and also always still try to do. I can't say that we always, follow our own advice, but we do our very best is to plan out the set in advance. And that doesn't mean that that's necessarily like the set that you're going to play when you get in the room. Like you might be like, oh, I think I need to change the vibe. I actually really want to play this song instead. Like it seems like the audience is responding better to this kind of music. Like you have the flexibility to change your plan. But I think going in, especially if you're a new DJ, with something that is like prepared, one, it really helps with the nerves. And like if you're in like any sort of panic mode or anything, it's like you do have a plan that you can follow.
Yeah.
And it helps you to kind of figure out like how to really develop a set in an intentional way rather than just like throwing some songs on randomly. It helps you like think about like, oh, how do these songs blend into each other? Like, what's the overall journey that I'm trying to curate? And I think that's just really good practice as you move forward into your career. Again, even if like you may never end up playing the exact set that you plan, but I think it really helps work all of those muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important early on,
Yeah.
especially. I think as you continually grow and kind of get more experience, then it becomes really more so about like reading the room.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like how has your creative process evolved from when you first started DJing, that party to when you're DJing now? How has your creative process changed over time?
Yeah, I would say creatively, well, we still hold true to certain values from the beginning. Our approach usually whenever we're curating a set for an event is we think about the event that we're playing for. If we've been there before, We think about the audience, the type of experiences we've had. And I wouldn't say that we necessarily change our music taste for the event, but we kind of want to create a vibe that will match what it is that the event is offering to their audiences as well, but in our own style. So we definitely take time to like really curate a very big playlist that we can select from for the event, for sure, every time.
Yeah. And you guys played a 2-hour set at our last Circadian Rhythms event a few months back. How was that experience? How was playing for that vibe? Like, you guys killed it.
That was so much fun because, like, pretty much my favorite sets are always the ones where the crowd is super engaged because it really feels like a back and forth between you and the audience. Like, when people are really dancing and, like, really paying attention and you can tell that you're, like, connecting with them. That's what makes, like, sets the most rewarding for me. And that was certainly the case here. It was, like, fun and hot and sweaty and really good dancing crowd. And, yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, that is, like, a special experience, like, because, like, you know, it's very intimate. You know, you have everyone surrounding you. So you really do feel the energy of everybody kind of, like, receiving the music you're given. And, I mean, I just feel like also the crowd of the people of 57, they're very kind and they are truly into the experience of dancing.
Yeah.
You know, you're not really seeing like phones out at all. Actually, I don't even remember really seeing any phones out. And that always usually is pretty special for me because it's like we're really receiving each other and communicating very well.
As you look ahead to 2025, what are some of the things you guys are looking forward to professionally, artistically?
I think, you know, we've been wanting to pursue like music production for, I guess we've been thinking about it like seriously for like a year and a half, 2 years now. And, you know, we threw a lot of events last year, which kind of like got in the way and life things. Idris is getting his MFA right now, so we have a lot going on. But I know for both of us, that's like one of our very major goals for 2025 is to really buckle in and get serious about that, do some online courses, talk to a bunch of friends.
We have a studio right here for you guys to play with anytime you want.
Exactly. And, you know, it's so incredible. We have so many friends who, you know, whenever we say that, they're like, oh, come to my studio. I'll show you, like, what I know, which is just, it's really special to be surrounded by so many people who are willing to share their expertise with us. So I'm very nervous and intimidated, but I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 2025, I think a lot of it is, for me, is a continuation of things that I've already been working on for quite some time. As Stella mentioned, I'm doing my MFA at the School of Visual Arts, so it's more so like media and photos and video. So I hope to finish that this semester. But then after that, I think a lot of time will free up to kind of pursue more endeavors musically, and then also too in the content creation landscape for ourselves as well.
That's awesome.
And then we're still going to be producing parties with Midnight Caviar.
Hell yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. One last question. What advice would you guys give aspiring DJs who are starting out today?
I think, like, listen widely. I think don't get, like, trapped by a genre. I think, you know, you might be surprised what you discover in a genre that you're unfamiliar with, and it might really, like, open your mind. And also, I think, like, there's amazing songs in every genre. So I think listen widely and appreciate all of those various types of music.
Yeah, I think it's important, too, to, you know, go in there, like, for music, right? Like, don't forget the reason why you're there. The reason why you want to play the music is because you love the music. And learn about the culture. I feel like that's like something that's really important. We kind of had like a slow transition into the scene over a couple of years, so we got to really experience like many facets of the New York City underground music scene, and the more popular ones as well. And that kind of really informed our practice, like what it is we're interested in, the type of music we want to play,
the kind of sets we like based on like hearing other people, you know.
Yeah, and then after that, just play as much as you can. There's no opportunity that's not a good opportunity when you're first starting. You know, and be super kind to everybody that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. The scene is very small, like shockingly. Even, you know, now that we've played in Berlin and are meeting international DJs, like everybody knows each other. And that's not the only reason to be kind. You should be kind just because you want to, but you should always be respectful of everybody that you meet because it really is a small scene and everybody's connected. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Love that. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Cheers.